What's up, you guys? My name is Big Easy. You're watching Big Easy's World. Today we're going to talk about why I quit my job, sold my house, and am moving to Florida. This is going to be a good one. Stay tuned. Why I quit my job? It's a good question. Number one, it just wasn't for me, guys, okay? I've done everything you can imagine. I started off doing fast food work when I was in high school. After that, I got into office work. I've done construction jobs. I've done a little bit of everything. And just nothing seemed to be the right fit. I could never find something that I was happy to do. I was good at almost everything I put my mind to. Anything I did, I became good at, right? I've done sales, I've done collections, I've done restaurant work, I've done office work, I've done construction. Just none of it felt like I was never passionate about any of that stuff. What I was passionate about, since I can remember, was starting my own business. That's always been something I've wanted to do. And I can remember when I was 12 years old, I was telling everybody I knew that I was going to be rich someday. I was going to be a boss. I was going to be owning my own business. Basically, I've never wanted to work for anybody. I always knew that I wanted to be the landlord and not the one paying rent, if that makes any sense. So I decided that's what I was going to do. And it took me a long time to actually finally put that plan into place. But here I am. I've quit my job, I've sold my house, I've started an online business, and I'm getting ready to move out of state. And it took a lot of overthinking and strategizing and putting things into place at the right time. What happened was I backed myself into a bit of a corner. I got to a point where I was borderline suicidal. I had about $30,000 in debt. I was not living a godly lifestyle, as you might say. Basically, let's flash back to November of 2022. I'm working a construction job, working 50 hours a week, making good money, but barely able to pay my bills. Why? Because I had a lot of issues at the time. This was 1 year ago, guys. I was a cigarette smoker. I drank alcohol, smoked weed. I did psychedelic drugs about once a week. I was in a band that was kind of dark as far as the tone and the message goes. I just wasn't happy, folks. It was not a happy lifestyle. It was not a positive lifestyle. Basically, I was living somebody else's life. I was living the life that my father wanted me to live, which was the life of a everyday, average, ordinary person. Which, I'm not putting down average, ordinary people. I'm just saying I know that's not my path in life. That's not what makes me happy. I always felt different. Ever since I was a kid, I always felt like I don't belong. I never belonged into any group. I got along with everyone, but I never fit in with any one group. If that makes any sense. If anybody can relate to that, feel free to type in the comments. always knew there was something I needed to do that wasn't ordinary. It always had something to do with speaking to people or leading people or something that you just can't do living in a small town. You can't do that living in South Dakota, anywhere in South Dakota. So I always knew I needed to get out, and I knew I needed to go to where the action was, so to say. I've always been drawn to tropical type weather, tropical places. I'm a big fan of colors. I'm a big fan of warmth. I'm a big fan of sunshine. Vibrancy, life, basically. And South Dakota, nothing wrong with South Dakota, but this is the place I feel like people go to retire. This is where people go to live an average life and pass away and maybe raise a family. It's a calm place, which if that's what you're into, South Dakota is the place to be. If you're more of you like the action, you like the excitement, you like colors, you like warm temperatures, you like positive vibes, you like not living in fear, then you have to get out of South Dakota. And I've known that since I was a little kid. I've always known that. I always knew. And I know it sounds crazy, but I've always known that this was not the place for me. So let's flash back again to November 2022. November 2022. I was smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, smoking weed, doing psychedelic drugs, gambling, you name it. Anything bad, anything that you can think of that is like a bad habit, I did them all. I was doing them all. I was racking up the debt. I was about $30,000 in debt to credit card companies. I owed my parents about $12,000. It was not a good picture, folks. And it left me with one option. One option. I got to sell my house in order to basically pay off all my debt and basically start from scratch. And I don't know what possessed me to quit my job. I think that was more of a soul thing. I think that was my soul, and I honestly think it was God telling me this ain't the place for you. And it was kind of like a move of faith. It was like, okay, if you really want to do what you say you're going to do, which is start a business and live this fantastic life, then you need to make a move. And what I did was I decided I got to do something. I got to put my words into action. So I quit my job, and I had a roommate staying with me at the time, and I felt really bad about this, but I had to tell him, man, like, listen, I'm selling my house, so you got about 60 days to figure something out. And I felt really bad. I apologized to him. I felt bad about springing that on him, but what else was there to do? I said, hey man, I'm sorry, this is my fault. I backed myself into a corner. There's nothing I can do. I have to do this. So I decided. I called the realtor the next day. I quit my job, and then the next day I called the realtor. I had my house up for sale in about 3 days, I believe. And man, I mean, I can't think of any other reason how this worked out so well, other than some divine inspiration, some divine hand. I have to give God credit, because so many it can't be a coincidence. All these things just lining up at exactly the right time. So the camera adjusted here. So I put my house up for sale. Literally within, I think it was 2 days, I had people requesting to come see it. I had, it was like every day there was like two, three requests to view the house. So it was kind of uncomfortable at the time, but I had to end up leaving the house because they said, well, we're going to have someone come over at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock to come look at the house. So it was like every day I was getting a message saying, hey, someone's coming over, you got to get out of there. So for about a week, it was very uncomfortable. But within a week, I think it was a week, maybe a week and a half, I already had an offer in the house, if you can believe that. It was incredible. And it was, man, I mean, there's no other way to explain it. It was like, as soon as you take action, as soon as you decide you're going to do something and then you prove it with action, that's when you get rewarded. The universe has a way of rewarding effort and rewarding, okay, now put your money where your mouth is. So I said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And what happened was I got my house sold, and I don't know what happened over the last 2 years, starting in 2021. But the housing market, I think it was nationwide, but specifically here in South Dakota, everything just the values shot up significantly over the past year and a half, maybe 2 years, which lined me up perfectly to be in position to sell my house for a significant profit. I bought my house for a pretty low amount back in 2017, and in 2022, 5 years of living in this house. I lived there for 5 years, and the value went up by $80,000, if you can believe that. I mean, it's just incredible. Obviously, I didn't get that at the closing, but what that allowed me to do was it allowed me to pay off my debt to the credit card companies, to my parents, to any. I basically wiped the slate clean, and I had some extra cash left over. And what I did with the extra cash was I didn't have a reliable vehicle. It was a 2000 Dodge Intrepid, 185,000 miles. It was a junker. It was falling apart. The engine ran just fine, but it was kind of a junker. So what I did was I took 20,000 of what I had of the profit from selling the house. I took that and bought a vehicle outright. I bought an Expedition, a Ford Expedition. And so now I have a Ford Expedition, right? A reliable vehicle that has just enough room for me to pack what I need to live into the back of the vehicle, travel to Florida, where I'm going to move to. And I mean, none of this really makes any sense unless you think of putting your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your mouth. You say you're going to do something, do it. And I guarantee you, you will be rewarded. The universe will reward you tenfold. I promise. So, I mean, don't just do it on a whim. You gotta you do have to have some planning involved here. But for the most part, it's basically just do it. Okay?